Hey guys, it's Emma and I'm back today for you with another video. And today I am going to be recommending some of the most disturbing books that I have ever read. Okay, I have read some pretty disturbing books in my life. And it's to the point where I read disturbing books just plainly out of curiosity to see what I can and cannot handle, what I deem disturbing. I've got 7 books here for you guys today. They're in no particular order, they're just in the order that I thought of them. One thing to mention before we start the video is that these books are disturbing, okay? There are some things in these books that left me haunted, that left me staring at a wall, all right, or that just genuinely freaked or creeped me out. So I'm not going to list all of the trigger warnings because that would just take a lot. So if you do get interested by any of these books, I do recommend them. It's just be mindful of what you're reading, okay? Look up the trigger warnings before you read these books, okay? So before we start, what I want to know is, have y'all read any of these books that I'm going to talk about? And if not, are you interested in any of them? Or if you have disturbing books that you want to recommend, leave them down in the comments, okay? Because I'm always down for a new disturbing book, okay? So with that being said, let's jump right into it. First, we have The Road by Cormac McCarthy. This is about a father and son who basically have to navigate this post-apocalyptic North America. And wow, I gave The Road 5 stars. I absolutely sped through this book. It captivated me to a point where I could read it in like one sitting. It was amazing, but it is very strange to read. First of all, because there's like no quotation marks. You inherently decide who is talking and who isn't. And it's just very dark because it is about this father and this son that are basically on their own trying to survive in this world that doesn't seem human anymore, all right? There are cannibals running around that they have to evade. There are people that have just completely lost their minds. At one point, there's this train of like a war party with like war prisoners, and it's so strange to see how in the midst of chaos humanity can in a way devolve. So The Road, I would say it's a classic, and I would say that this is probably the staple disturbing book, so wholeheartedly recommend this. Night by Elie Wiesel. I read this, I want to say in my sophomore year of high school. I gave this 5 stars. This is his autobiography about how he survived the Holocaust. And it is just harrowing. There's a part in here where the Jewish people are being carted along in boxcars like cattle, and they stop at this one train station and they're all starving, and this one German woman, she's like looking down on them and she flips a coin into the boxcar, and the coin lands and all of the men just start attacking each other for these like 3 coins. And you can tell the German woman thinks she's done something amazing. You know, she's helped these poor men, when in fact she's literally just turned them loose on each other. It is unbelievable, all right? The bluntness and the jarringness of just this book is phenomenal. And I think if you are a fan of World War II literature or autobiographies in general, I think you would really like this. House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski. I have a review up for this book if you'd like to go check that out. It's hard to explain just exactly what this book is about without completely spoiling it, so the only thing I'm going to say is there's this family that moves into a house, and the house is bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. All right, it gives you monster house vibes. It's written in like ergodic literature, so it's written in like really weird ways to like up the apprehension and tension, and boy does it. All right, like holy shit, I have never read a horror book like this, okay? Because this is like a creeping horror. It doesn't hit you all at once. It's like very chilling, it's very slow, and it builds up to the climax that literally had me like struggling for breath because I almost hyperventilated. It This book is something else, and I can definitely see why there's a cult following. Okay, I gave it 5 stars. I think it is amazing. It is one of the best horror books that I've ever read, and I think it deserves every ounce of hype that it gets. The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. I gave this book 5 stars, and I cannot tell you guys how much I love it. Okay, I love Stephen Graham Jones as an author. All 3 books that I've read by him so far, I've given 5 stars, okay? The Only Good Indians was the first book I read by him, and dear Lord, could it not have been a better book for me to read. This book is about 4 Native American friends who are trying to live their lives when suddenly they are now being haunted by a malicious presence that has come back for revenge that they once encountered in their past. So it's their past coming back to haunt them. This book, when I first read it, I didn't know exactly how to describe it other than, you know, it was like scary, but the type of scary that it is, this book is freaky. Okay, this book is just downright freaky. Like, the antagonistic force in this book is genuinely terrifying. Okay, because we're dealing with Native American legends here. I feel like most of the terror from this book and the antagonistic force in this book comes from the fact that it is so old, and how do you defeat something that is ancient, you know? So I loved this. I think it is a good start if you would like to get into Stephen Graham Jones. And quite honestly, I cannot recommend him as an author more. Quite honestly, I think if you liked It Follows, the movie, I think you'll like this one too. Okay, it's like it's kind of a slow creeping horror as well. Not as much as House of Leaves, but this it's kind of a slower horror. I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream by Harlan Ellison. I gave this book 4 stars. Is it really even a book? It's like a short story. Ooh. This one is hard to explain too, but not in a spoilery type of way, just in a how do I encompass the disturbance that this book caused me. Okay, it's about these 5 people who are like the last of humanity, and they're being trapped in this world made by this sadistic computer, or like AI or robot, some sort of sadistic technology that enjoys just torturing them and keeping them alive forever. The ending, first of all, knocked me off my ass, and just the quotes from this book are very, very chilling. It's just so bizarre. It is like, it reminded me of Brave New World, of the Metamorphosis. It reminded me of classics that I would read in my world literature class. Honestly, I think that if you're a fan of those, you might be a fan of I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. But like I said, it's very short. You could read this in like one sitting. Just beware, because it was written like really long ago, so it kind of is sign of the times. So there's that. Okay. Johnny Got His Gun by Dalton Trumbo. This is about a boy named Joe Bunham who is enlisted into World War I, and he is hit with an artillery shell, and he loses his arms, he loses his legs, and he's got a cavity in his face to where he loses his ears, his eyes, his mouth, his tongue, his teeth, everything. He is literally consciousness in a pile of meat, and it is all about him coming to terms with just how injured he is and him recollecting on the horrors of war. I gave Johnny Got His Gun 4 stars. This, I want to say, was written in like 1931, somewhere along that line. It's like a pretty big staple in like anti-war literature. I think it was like on the front line for anti-Vietnam protests. Let me just say one thing. If you consider yourself empathetic, or you have a sensitivity to people's pain, or people being in pain, or people being extremely lonely or panicked, if you cannot handle that, do not pick this up, okay? I guess to be a little bit more sadistic, I recommend the audiobook, especially the audiobook on Scribd. Okay, the dude that narrates Johnny Got His Gun on Scribd needs a raise. It was very well done, okay, because there's a scene where he's going off to war, and if you're listening to the audiobook, it's a big assault on your senses because it's taking in pieces of media from that time and war propaganda, and it's just a jarring assault on your senses to where you practically feel like, you know, you don't know what the hell you're doing. And a lot of those boys didn't know what they were doing. Also, the thing is, you know, he's called Joe in order to make the connection of, you know, he's an average Joe, like you and me. This can happen to any of us. I remember I had to stop after the part where he realizes that his legs are gone, because it was just so horrific, you know, to hear Joe go through all of this. And I remember having to stop it and just stare at a wall, and I broke. It was horrible. All right, so if you're looking for a book that will definitely put you down but will also open your eyes to a lot of stuff, like the quotes in here, gorgeous, okay? I recommend Johnny Got His Gun. Just again, be careful, because wow, this book is emotionally draining. The last book that we have is Tender is the Flesh by Agustina Bazterrica. This, I believe, is set in Argentina, and it's about a futuristic world, our world, where we have resorted to cannibalism. Cannibalism has been legalized, and there are people that we distinguish between the people and the heads, aka the heads of cattle, aka the people that we eat, right? And we follow this main character, Marcos, as he is, I believe, like a manager at like a processing plant to the heads. And we follow his battle with humanity, pretty much, when one of his superiors gives him a female. I think the most disturbing part of this book is just how dehumanizing it is towards the, you know, the people that were deigned to be eaten. I mean, like, for example, they didn't call them people, they called them heads, like heads of cattle, for them to be eaten. They didn't, they like removed their vocal cords so that they couldn't speak or scream, because I think a quote from the book was, nobody likes it when the meat talks, right? Because then that gives it more humanity, and then that makes you feel horrible, right? Another really disturbing part is just the writing, okay? The writing, it's depicting so many horrific and gruesome stuff, but the writing is so tantalizing. It like leads you on, and it's eerie at the same time. And then also the ending.
What the fuck is going on in here on this day?
The ending might as well have uppercut me and knocked my teeth out. It was so sudden and so just out of the blue. It had me in my bathroom, okay, getting my face routine together, stuttering, trying to make a sentence for at least 5 minutes straight. Okay, this book, it also honestly felt like a book that I would read in my world literature class. If given the attention, I feel like it could be a classic. I gave this book 5 stars. It was grotesque, gruesome, gory, all of the above. So you guys, that was my recommendation video for disturbing books that I've read. I will continue to be reading more disturbing books, whether you guys put some down in the comments or not. But down in the comments, also, let me know if you'd like me to do a part 2, because I'm sure I'm going to read more. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys will stay tuned for the next one, and that you guys are staying safe, and that you guys have a good rest of your day. Goodbye.